Welcome back, everyone. Today on The Explainer, we're embarking on a pretty fascinating, behind-the-scenes spatial tour. You know, when you walk into a beautifully lit, perfectly climate-controlled hotel lobby, you're literally stepping into a massive, living machine. But have you ever actually stopped to wonder just how many resources it takes to keep that whole shebang running flawlessly? Well, today, we're uncovering the hidden resources of hospitality. We're going to break down the incredible data behind a standard hotel's resource consumption, literally room by room.
All right, let's just dive right in. We aren't just talking about keeping the lights on here. We're talking about managing global resources, one thermostat, one faucet, and one light bulb at a time. The environmental and operational impact of running a hotel is absolutely massive. But as you'll see, the solutions are often surprisingly straightforward.
Think of this agenda as our hotel floor map. Today we're covering 1. The hidden cost of hospitality. 2. Inside the guest room. 3. The heat of the kitchen. 4. The heavy-duty laundry. 5. Smarter systems and lighting. And lastly, 6. Small habits, massive impact.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the hidden cost of hospitality. We're starting our tour right in the grand public spaces. Now, the sheer scale of a hotel lobby is designed to impress you, but that scale comes with a hidden cost that completely shatters a very common assumption. If I asked you right now what uses the most energy in a hotel, you'd probably guess the hundreds of guest rooms, right? Actually, the guest rooms and corridors combined only consume about 20 to 25% of the total energy used in an average hotel. Meanwhile, the combined energy consumption in the food and beverage areas sits way up there, between 35 and 40%.
And to really put that shocking contrast in scale into perspective, let's look at those other operations, like event halls. A single 300 square meter ballroom can consume more energy than 5 completely separate 180 square meter residential homes. 5. Just think about that the next time you're attending a conference.
Moving right along to Section 2, inside the guest room.
So we leave that massive ballroom behind, swipe our keycard, and step inside a standard guest room. And one crucial number instantly jumps out: 94 liters. While the room itself might not be the biggest energy drain, its water footprint is immense. The average daily consumption of water in a guest room is a staggering 94 liters per occupied room. Between the showers, the flushing, and the sink running, that water meter is spinning fast.
But here's the really fascinating counterpoint to that heavy resource toll. Not all solutions require tearing open the walls to install some crazy high-tech plumbing system. You can save energy simply by opening and closing the drapes in the rooms. Managing the natural sunlight can drastically reduce the need for air conditioning or heating. It's an incredibly effective solution that requires absolutely zero new technology, just a flick of the wrist.
Next up on our tour, Section 3, the heat of the kitchen.
Pushing through those swinging double doors, we leave the quiet guest floors and enter the high-intensity, high-pressure, and highly resource-heavy environment of the hotel kitchen. Let's compare the traditional tools of the trade here. For decades, the roaring gas burner was the ultimate symbol of a professional kitchen. But look at this efficiency gap. Gas burners sit at an abysmal 55% efficiency. That means nearly half the energy is just escaping as excess heat into the kitchen, which, by the way, then requires even more air conditioning to cool down. Compare that to modern induction equipment, which hits a massive 90% efficiency. That is a game changer.
And that efficiency directly translates into speed, which is literally everything in a commercial kitchen. If a chef needs to heat up 1 liter of water, an older electric hot plate will take 7 agonizing minutes. An induction plate, it slices that time down to just 3.1 minutes. You are cooking more than twice as fast, using vastly less power.
But you know, electricity isn't the only resource being poured down the drain here. Consider the super common practice of thawing frozen meat under a running tap. The source data points out something I found absolutely incredible. The time it takes to thaw 2 kilograms of frozen meat at negative 18 degrees Celsius remains almost exactly the same whether you blast the running water at 20 liters per minute or if you use a gentle stream of just 0.5 liters per minute. Blasting the water doesn't speed up the physics of thawing, it just wastes a monumental amount of water.
Which brings us to this number, 56 liters. That is the hidden culinary cost of your meal. The hotel kitchen can consume over 56 liters of water per single food cover. Every single plate leaving the pass carries an invisible footprint of 56 liters used in prep, cooking, and dishwashing.
All right, heading downstairs now. Section 4, the heavy-duty laundry.
Taking the service elevator deep into the basement, we encounter the unsung hero, and arguably the heaviest consumer of the entire hotel, the commercial laundry center. Now, if you thought the guest room water usage was high at 94 liters, get this. The laundry operation alone consumes an average of 113 liters of water per occupied room. When you factor in the sheets, the towels, the tablecloths, and all the staff uniforms, the flow of water required to keep everything pristine is just a relentless river. But just like those drapes in the guest room, there is a highly actionable operational solution down here that doesn't require a multi-million-dollar retrofit. It's simply about discipline. If the washers and dryers are loaded strictly to their rated capacity, rather than being run half-empty just to rush an order, energy and water for the laundry can be saved by as much as 15%. Good operational habits translate directly to massive resource conservation.
Let's look behind the walls now. Section 5. Smarter Systems and Lighting.
Zooming out to the invisible nervous system running quietly through the ceilings of every floor, a building management system, or BMS, is absolutely critical. Programming your BMS to intelligently monitor public areas and meeting room thermostats can reduce annual electricity costs by up to 5%. However, contrast that with the steep penalty of slight temperature mismanagement. If a space is undercooled by just 1 degree Celsius, the cooling energy wasted can be as high as 8%. It's a delicate, high-stakes balancing act of climate control.
Let's rapid fire through some really straightforward hardware fixes that slash consumption. Swapping old 10-watt halogen lamps for 3-watt LEDs? Instant savings. Upgrading to T5 fluorescent and compact fluorescent light bulbs, CFLs, can save lighting energy by up to 80%. They use only a quarter of the energy of an incandescent bulb while lasting 10 times longer. In the bathrooms, installing 6-liter-per-minute aerators in the sinks slashes water flow without the guest ever noticing a drop in pressure. And throwing motion detectors into the mix ensures you aren't lighting up an empty corridor. Boom! Instant efficiency.
But before we leave the system section, let's pause for a second, because this is wild. There's this surprising and often entirely overlooked relationship between humidity and temperature. The data tells us that improving relative humidity by just a slight 5% has the exact same comfort effect on the human body as a full 3-degree temperature adjustment. Managing moisture in the air is just as crucial as managing the AC dial itself.
And that leads us to our final section, Part 6, Small Habits, Massive Impact. For our final stop, we're shifting the focus away from automated systems and right back to human behavior. I want to ask you a direct question. We've all seen them, we've all heard them, in a public restroom or even in our own homes. But in a commercial setting, just how much water do you think a single, tiny, dripping, leaking faucet actually wastes over time? Have a guess in your head. Did you guess 10,000 liters? Because here is the staggering punchline. A single leaking faucet can waste up to 10,000 liters of water per year. 10,000 liters from one ignored drip. It really proves that in hospitality, and frankly in life, ignoring the small things leads to catastrophic, unseen waste.
We spend massive amounts of money in carbon to heat water, only to find that 85 to 90% of the energy used to heat it is just instantly dumped straight down the drain after a few seconds of use. So the ultimate question the data leaves us with is simple but really provocative. Can you clean it with cold water? It's a question that forces us to rethink our everyday automatic actions. Thanks for joining me on this tour, guys. Keep asking the right questions and keep looking at the data.